pure joy of Chapter 15, Lesson 4, Comparing Fractions. Here are the things I need to know. Least common denominator / least common multiple. These are the exact same thing, only the D and the M, but they're synonyms. I need to know how to multiply, and then I need to know how to compare and order. So first thing I need to do is find the least common denominator, or least common multiple. Why? Well, because if I eat a third of a pizza, or if Mrs. Scurry eats a third of a pizza and I eat half of a pizza, I need to be able to know who eats more. Well, I got to cut it in the same number of pieces, in other words. Okay? Like my dad one time called Papa John's and asked him how many pieces are in a large pizza, and they said 8, and so he replied to them, "Hey, can you cut it in 6, because I don't think I could eat 8. If you're laughing because 6 pieces of a large pizza is the exact same amount of pizzas, 8 pieces of a large pizza, then you got the joke. If not, then I'll explain it to you tomorrow when you come to class. So anyway, a little fraction humor for you. So first thing I need is find the LCD or LCM. So I count by 9s, I count by 4s. What's the smallest number they have in common? Well, if you said 36, you are correct. So how did I get to 36? Well, I multiplied by, here I multiplied by 9, here I multiplied by 4. So here I have 27 over 36, here I have 28 over 36. So I did step 1, found my LCM, LCD. I wrote equivalent fractions, and then I compared the numerators. So 28, 27. So 28 is greater than 27. So that is how you can compare fractions. So again, found the LCD, wrote my equivalent fractions, making sure I have a common denominator, because so they have to be the exact same pieces. Then I compare the numerators. So let's see what we have here. First and foremost, find my LCD. Count by 12s, count by 5s. What's the smallest number they have in common? If you said 60, you would be correct. So I know that I need to write a fraction with 60 as my denominator. So how did I get there? 5 times 60, so 45. So then I have to go this way. 60 is my denominator. 12 times 5, so 12 times 4 is 48. So that's how I came up with 60, and that's how I came up with 48 60ths. That's how I came up with. So I multiplied by 5, multiplied by 5. Here I multiplied by 12. Here I multiplied by 12. Now, which numerator is bigger? You guessed it. 48 is larger. So 4/5 is greater than 9/12. Okay. Now, we have a mixed number. First and foremost, look at the whole number. If the whole numbers are the same, then I got to do some work. If the whole numbers are different, my job just got a whole lot easier. Well, in this case, my whole numbers are the same, so I've got some work to do. So I've got to figure out so right now I don't care about the whole numbers anymore. All I care about are the fractions. They're going to tell me what to do. So looking at the fractions, what is the least common denominator? If you said 15, you're right. So here I'm going to multiply by 3. I'm going to multiply by 3. That's going to give me my new fraction. Over here, I'm going to multiply by 5. I'm going to multiply by 5. And that's going to give me my new fraction. So let's start with this one. What is 2 times 5? It is 10. And then my least common denominator was 15. Okay. So my fraction over here is 10/15. Scoot it over so you can see it. And then over here I have 12. 3 times 4 is 12. And then my denominator is 15. So which one? So 10/15 is less than 12. 3, or let's just say 3. And 2/3 is less than 3 4/5. Okay, get my less than sign in the box. You can go ahead and do the 2 U tries all by yourself, and let's see what you come up with. So go ahead and give the video a pause. Okay. I'm going to tell you a secret right now here on the U try. Here's my secret. Now, the secret is this. Here's the shortcut. Now that I showed you how to do it the long way, what I do is this. I take my denominator, multiply it by the opposite numerator, and I get 25. 8 times 3 is 24. Well, is 24 less than, greater than, or equal to 25? It is less than, so I know that 3/5 is less than 5/8. Because all I did was I took out, I found my LCD, which was 40. Okay. So if I wanted to, I could make my fraction 24/40. Okay. And 25/40. Because here's all I did. 3 times 8 is 24, 5 times 8 is 40, 5 times 5 is 25, 8 times 5 is 40. So all I did by multiplying across, diagonally, across, I just took out my denominator part of the step. Just took out my denominator part. So 3/5 is less than 5/8. Here I have just the opposite. 6 and 2/3 is greater than 6 and 2/8, because 8 times 2 is 16, and 3 times 2 is 6. Now, ordering. Here I've got to find a common denominator. Here I've got to write equivalent fractions. Okay? So basically this is a long, drawn out process. So together, what is, if I count by 3s, 5s, and 15s, what's the smallest number they have in common? Well, if you said 15, you're right. So how do I get from 5 to 15? Well, I multiply by 3. So 6/15. Okay. Then I have, how many 15ths here? 3 times 5, so 10/15. And then, last but not least, I have 4/15. So now I've got to put them in order from least, I'm sorry, not from least, from greatest to least. See what happens when you go back and you read the directions. So the largest number that I have, the greatest of all, would be 2/3. So 2/3 is first. Now you'll notice that I went back to the original number, because that's what the problem is really asking me to do, even though they're all the same. Then I have 2/5. Next in line is 2/5. And then finally 4/15. So there's that problem, least to greatest. So again, what I did is I found my common denominator, wrote equivalent fractions, and put them in order. Now here, I know for a fact which one's the smallest. So I don't even have to mess with this. 3/4 is the smallest. Now, try to think in your head, how in the world did I know that 3/4 is the smallest? Well, because here I've got 1 and 2/3. Here I have 1 and 7/12. Well, here's just a measly 3/4. There's no whole number. So that's how I knew it was the smallest. So we got to figure out now which one's bigger, 2/3 or 7/12. Well, the least common denominator is 12. Because if I count by 3s and 12s, the smallest number they have in common is 12. So how do I get from 2/3 to 12? Well, I multiply by 4. So I have 8/12. So which one's bigger, 7/12 or 8/12? If you said 8/12, you're right. So 1 2/3 is the largest. And then I have 1 7/12. So here are those fractions in order from greatest to least. Greatest to least. Okay. Now, here's the you tries. So give these a try, putting them in order from greatest to least. Look at the hints. If the denominators are the same, the larger numerator is larger. And if the numerators are the same, the smaller denominator is larger. So try to use that hint when helping yourself out there. So here we have our fractions in order. And here I listed found my common denominator, which is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. And then I had 7/12. So if I put them in order, 3/4, which is 9/12, 2/3, 8/12, and then I have 7/12. Here, I had to count a while here to get my LCD, which was 70. Then 10 times 7 is 70. 6 times 7 is 42. 5 times 14 is 70. 2 times 14 is 28. 7 times 10 is 70. 2 times 10 is 20. So here are my fractions that I need to compare, because the whole numbers are all the same. So 5 6/10 is the largest, followed by 5 2/5, sorry, and then rounded out by 5 2/7. Now, here's what I could have done. 6/10 is the only one that's larger than 1/2. Larger than half. How do I know it's larger than half? Well, 6 times 2 is 12, which is greater than 10. 5 times 2 is 4, which is less than 5. 2 times 2 is 4, which is less than 7. So I know that's the largest. Then if I use my hints, numerators are the same, so that means the smaller denominator is bigger. So 2/5 is larger than 2/7. So that's how I could have done it instead. Alright, here is your bell work for tomorrow. Good luck, and we'll see you at school tomorrow.